right, so we hear about VR, AR, we talk about VR, AR, and some of us might even have experienced virtual reality. But what exactly is VR? Today we're very honored to be joined by executives from 3 top-notch VR companies, and they're going to share their precious insight with us. Let us welcome our panelist, Mr. Raymond Powell, Vice President of VR New Technology Division of HTC. Raymond is responsible for VR technology, strategic partnership, and VR business in Asia Pacific. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Raymond Powell.
Thank you, thank you.
And also, I'd like to introduce our next panelist, Mr. LZ Wang, Managing Director of AMD Taiwan. LZ is a semiconductor veteran with over 20 years of internet sales, business development, and management experiences. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. LZ Wang. And last but not least,
this is where we dance, right?
Yeah.
you're welcome to move your body a little bit. All right, last but not least, Ms. Celia Yu, Senior Marketing Director of Samsung Electronics Taiwan. Celia is an outstanding professional in the marketing area of consumer electronics. She is going to share her insight about how to meet diversified needs on consumers. Celia Yu. All right, moderator Justin, your time.
Great. So I'd love it if anybody here sort of disagrees with any of the ideas that I had during that talk that I just gave. Feel free to counter anything that you heard from me. But I've already told the panelists that we want to have a conversation today, so hopefully there'll be a bit of back and forth between the panelists as well as from me. But we're going to spend our time talking a little bit about the ecosystem for virtual and augmented reality and how that ecosystem hopefully will emerge or can emerge over the next few years and what the opportunity is there. And so we're going to start off essentially by asking each of the panelists to describe where their company is in that ecosystem at present, how they see the company in the future, and talking a little bit about what specifically they're doing in the area of VR and AR. And I think what we'll do is we'll go down the line here and let each of them respond to that question, sort of place themselves in the ecosystem, tell you a little bit about what they're doing, and then we'll get into the conversation. Perhaps I'll start with you, Celia, if that's all right. We'll start on that side.
Okay, so let me briefly introduce the Samsung Gear VR. So actually, we launched the first Gear VR Innovator Edition. That's for developer in 2014. And in 2015, and we launched the consumer version, and it suddenly becomes a hit. I think it's because of the affordability, because it works with our smartphone, our premium smartphone. So it drops down the price. So it's not like the Google Cardboard. It's a little bit like more affordable, but the quality. We have a quality VR experiences. So I think the position actually kind of hit some sweet spot. So from Oculus, we see that in April this year, there has been 1 million people using the Gear VR, browsing all the content from the Oculus stores. And 7 out of the top 10 actually is video related. And 80% of the consumers, they are actually, seeing the video. So I think that's why for Samsung, actually we also announced the Gear 360. That's a complement of the Gear VR. So the way we see this is that the smartphone actually is a portal, is an access to the connectivity, video entertainment, and also the commerce, because our smartphone can also enable the mobile payment. So in the future, a smartphone is not only a device you can watch a drama or make a phone call or something. You can do a lot more. But because we see the trend of the video entertainment, so actually we are thinking that maybe in the past, consumers, they document their best moment with a photo album or with a videotape or a lot of this kind of stuff. But we think in the future, people will record this best moment with the VR. So actually, it's like you relive the moment. As if you were there. So your birthday, your graduation ceremony, your wedding, it will become the very meaningful VR experiences. So that's we think the user-generated content or the 360 videos actually will take off. And I think the Facebook and YouTube, they all have the billions of users and a lot of 360 content. So I think it's kind of for us to support that. Actually, this is a big space. So maybe later I can talk about some of the application we have been doing in that space. But having said that, we may possibly still introduce some independent VR headset in the future because it seems a very big space. The VR actually is booming. So right now our positioning is actually working with a smartphone, but in the future there may be some other type of VR devices in the future. So I think that's kind of a wrap up of our current situation.
Cool. Great. LZ, and from your perspective at AMD, describe your interest in VR and AR.
Hello. Hey, 大家早安. I gotta say, I'm gonna echo something, a lot of the things that Justin has mentioned in his slides. One of the things I want to definitely reinforce is that drunken walking, but at least the guy's having fun, right? I mean, I gotta tell you, so AMD, we're the leading technology provider in the computing space. I've been working for AMD for a very long time. And you know what? In the computing space, we haven't had fun for a while. But VR is bringing the fun back into the computing space. Because in the past few years, what's been having fun? Mobile phones, right? Samsung's been having a lot of fun with mobile phones, the mobile apps technologies. PC, when's the last time you refreshed your PC? But VR is going to bring that excitement back again, right? VR is going to bring back the technology and the demand and the requirement that's going to encourage people to refresh their PCs. That's going to bring the fun back. So AMD, we're the leading technology provider in the PC space and the computing space. So there are 3 things we're going to do with VR. Number 1, we're going to continue to produce the best products that are going to power the VR experience. Bring the best VR experience to everybody, right? Because to experience VR, you need a powerful engine behind it. To develop the VR content, you need a powerful engine behind it. And just like Justin said, without content, you can't experience anything. Number 2, we gotta make the tools and the content developers' life a lot easier. We gotta be able to provide tools and training and assist the tool developers and the content developers make their content easy and optimized. So we're gonna be actively providing tools to enable that. And number 3, it takes a village. It takes everybody here. It takes everybody in the industry. It takes every single hardware or software company or IT company on this island to make VR work. Because the last thing we want is what? 3D television. I bought a 3D television. I was excited. But my 3D television is just sitting on the wall acting like a regular television. Why? No content. The only movie I got is Avatar. So we don't want to make VR another 3D television. We have to work together and make VR a success. And to do that, we have to all work together from the ground up. If we look at AMD, right, we're going to benefit a lot from the VR technology. But we're sitting at the top of the pyramid. The bottom of the foundation of the pyramid is all about content developer and the experiences in entertainment, education, and gaming. We have to enable that in order for the pyramid to grow. Without that foundation, we will never grow. So we're going to be an active member in the community. We are part of the VR Council in North America, where my colleague is the chairman of that committee. I'm going to do a little promotion here. I'm an active member of the Taiwan VR and AR Association called TARVA, based here in Taiwan. They're having a great party, by the way, on Wednesday at the Sanchuang, so make sure you be there. So we're going to actually get involved. Even we're at the top of the pyramid, we're going to get actually involved with the entire ecosystem of the VR. So that's what we're going to do.
And I do want to ask you all about your ecosystem relationships and what you're doing to essentially kind of reach across or down the pyramid or up the pyramid, depending on your position. But Raymond, your perspective at HTC, what is HTC doing in the space?
So HTC Vive started to launch this April 5th. And before a year ago, we announced our Vive in MWC publicly. So we did attract lots of developers to join our ecosystem. I think if we back to 2014, when we start to work with our best partner, Valve, I think it's clear we have same important internal discipline, I would say that. that we care user experience very much. So we do want to make the best user experience to the consumers. So that's why at the beginning, HTC Vive, we say we are the best experience in VR. The reason we want to do this is VR is not like, first of all, we're good friends with Google. We know Google team very well. So we do thank Google Cardboard, which bring the VR concept to the generic public. I think that's very helpful. But at the end, for the VR, you need to bring the best experience to make user really want to go into the new technology. Because just like you said, lots of people, they're afraid of the new technology. They don't know what it is, they don't understand what it is, and they don't even want to try it. So unless you provide the best experience to the end users, you cannot make the technology grow. That's why I think HTC Vive, we want to bring the best experience to the consumer. And that's why we also attract the developers, because they are, in another aspect, they are the most criticized consumers, right? So we want to satisfy them, we want to help them. And later on, talking about the ecosystem. For the ecosystem, in our category, we have a couple function block. One is the content, distribution channel, and hardware. And of course, there's some software together with the hardware to make it running. For HTC Vive, when we launch, we believe we were the best hardware, of course, software part. For the distribution platform, actually, Valve has the world best distribution platform, Steam. And even in China, HTC launched Viveport, want to help the developers to distribute their content to the consumers. So the most critical question, just like everybody knows, is content. How can we help developers? How can we make more contents? Because that's the key to keep consumers. Most of consumers, when they see Vive at the first day, they got, wow, this is cool. I'm going to try that more and more and more. But the way to keep them in this ecosystem is the content. The content variety, the attractiveness, all this type of content will make the ecosystem grow. I think HTC and Valve, we did a couple items. The first one, we start to give developers lots of kits. We send out at least like 6,000-7,000 kits to the world to help them to bring the contents. And also there's lots of meetups, there's lots of hackathon, these type of events to try to bring developers to the VR ecosystem. And also, I think with the distribution platform, with this kind of support, I think we see some good news now. Like after we launched for about 2 months, we have over 200 high quality content in Steam Store already. So I think in the other side, we try to collaborate with some virtual capital. We bring our own accelerator. We try to help more developers.
And you've launched a very large fund, essentially.
Yes. So I think all these steps is the actions we want to bring the content developer together and to help, not help us, but help them in this ecosystem.
And so that's actually it's a good jumping off point for my sort of next question, because HTC's announced a $100 million fund, I think operating out of Singapore, Taipei, and...
Beijing, Taipei, and San Francisco.
Sorry, Beijing, Taipei, and San Francisco. So targeting investing in startups. But maybe let's talk a little bit about that ecosystem. If we were all to maybe we put on a VR headset and we go stand on the moon, okay? And we were to look down at the Earth, and try to describe the global ecosystem that's emerging around virtual and augmented reality. Where would be the hotspots? Where would be the places where you think the most activity is taking place at the moment? Where are you you're most enthusiastic to work? And so Celia, maybe I'll send it back over to you.
Okay, so because the Samsung Gear VR is operating on the Oculus, so actually we share the developer resource with the Oculus. In April, I think there has been like 250 apps, but it's it's accumulating rapidly, and so far we know that Facebook in the near future they will allow users to have the 360 photos in the news feeds. So if you have the Gear VR, actually you can see the news feed of the 360 from Facebook. Actually, I think it helps a lot in the ecosystem because people do need to have a daily life scenario to really keep this going. It's not a occasional usage, but it's a everyday daily life usage. In addition to that, actually we actively participate. We just had the Samsung Developer Conference in San Francisco, and I think the response is overwhelming. So like globally and local and in every market, actually we try to partner with the different parties. They are also very interested in the VR. Right now we see the entertainment or the media company Justin just mentioned, actually they are probably the most interested in this space. So I can make some of the example because for these companies, actually they see that the VR is changing the way consumers or people, they experience the storytelling. So for example, you are not reading the news anymore, you are experiencing the news. So actually last year, I think in the United States, the Gear VR partnered with the CNN to have a broadcast of the Democratic presidential election. So I think that's a good tryout. And we also joined forces with the NBA, so in the United States, but with the European Football Federation in Portugal. So I think they are trying to bring people, in the court or at a different seat to look at to really experience the professional athlete at their perspective. So I think these are all different kind of experiment. We also partner with the Sundance Institute, so they are trying to create some of the very touching, creative stories. In the United States, there's a Six Flags, that's a very large regional theme park. So actually we partner to create the VR coasters. So there are kind of two types of VR coasters. You can either choose, it's like you're in a spaceship, you want to save the planet from the aliens invasion. So even though you are riding the coaster, but you wear the Gear VR, it gives you a different story setting. But if you wear the Gear VR with another story that's Superman, and then you become a Superman and trying to, save people from the bad guys. So I think there are a lot of interesting kind of application, and mostly in the video entertainment space.
So LZ, is the ecosystem for VR and AR, is it going to resemble then just the media ecosystem globally, or are there any surprising places that you're seeing interesting work happening?
Yeah, I mean, very good point. One of the exciting things about VR is that when people initially think of VR, you think of 360 degrees live feed video, right? Or gaming. Those are the two most obvious and the most, when you first think of VR, that's the most apparent that comes to mind. But VR is a lot more than that. VR is basically reality that's everything around us, right? I mean, it could be education, medical, entertainment, obviously gaming, and even the aerospace or industrial training. All of that is about VR. And I would like to take this moment to bring it down a little bit since we're in Taiwan. And let's focus on what could Taiwan innovate, right? Mm-hmm. What could the individual in Taiwan, the companies, could help with this VR ecosystem and innovation. If I look at the VR content today, it's still very Western-centric, right? If you go experience the demos that a lot of the VR that are demoing now is either flying through New York City, flying through Paris. It's all very Western-centric. I want to be Guan Yu inside the Sanguo, right? I want to have that VR experience, right? So that's where the local Taiwanese and the creativity could come in mind. And that's two extremes of the VR ecosystem innovation. On the far right side, where is real images, you really need a creative director who understands what Asians want to watch, what Taiwanese want to watch, and be that creative director and be that storytelling director and provides 360-degree feeds and provide entertainment content that's targeted for the Asian audience. That's innovation. Then on the left-hand side, where we talk about gaming, where a lot of the images and the experience that you are experiencing is coming from computing graphics, rendering those computing graphics. Look at it. Asians, we love cosplay. Right? If you go to COMPUTEX or the gaming show, it's all about cosplay. We want to be part of that virtual reality. We want to dress up to be part of the reality. Imagine if you could get immersed into that. You could actually be the character walking around in the environment. That's a huge market opportunity. But you need computing graphic that design those Asian arts, that could design the Asian warriors. That's where Taiwan can really develop, because Taiwan, we're not as known just for our hardware capabilities. Everybody knows our hardware capabilities, but we have a lot of Wenchuang. Wenchuang is very, very strong here in Taiwan, and we need to grow that. We need to basically discover that and make that become part of this fast developing VR ecosystem and catch the ride up with that development.
So a lot of opportunity for Taiwanese companies, of course, to engage. But from HTC's perspective, where are you putting your bets around the world?
Let me echo LD first. I think since last March, when HTC announced Vive, I personally have done demo for the Taiwanese companies. I think more than 500 people. I think yes, it is true that actually in Taiwan, where so many creative, young guys, they can create like amazing products. But what HTC found is actually we do not have a very matured ecosystem to help this product can launch globally. It's not a single local market can feed the developer. You have to bring your product to the international. That's why HTC wants to launch the accelerator here. And also we have accelerator in San Francisco and also Beijing. We want to bring the teams to different locations because we've seen relatively mature ecosystem for the incubation in San Francisco, in the Bay Area, and also in China. Mm-hmm. I think that's something HTC really want to help Taiwan.
So how would someone in the audience here, for instance, get involved in the accelerator here that HTC is investing in?
I think right now we start to. First of all, if you're a developer, you have startup, you got a good idea, just send us the application. We're going to talk to you. We want to see how can we help you to bring your product to the market. We have lots of events, and if you're virtual capital, you can also talk to us, and we can bring our teams to demo to you, not only Taiwan team, but also Beijing or San Francisco team. And even some developers, I think we're very neutral work platform. We want to help developers. Mm-hmm. That's the key. When developers can make money, can grow, and then the ecosystem can grow. And beyond that, I want to also go back to another topic about the applications, VR applications. It is true that we know the gaming would be the hottest topic and the first wave of the revenue for the VR. And also the gamers would be the first wave of consumers of VR. But our vision is much further than the gaming stuff. For the VR, any industry, if you need imagination or you need 3-dimension 3D, I think you probably will be impacted or disrupted by VR in some ways. I see lots of the different enterprise, they start to work on VR, but enterprise usually take longer time. So you see real estate, I think they run the fastest. And also like showroom, marketing, the design, not only the industrial design, but also the art design. VR really changes the way we design. Like since maybe a couple thousand years, people can only, show other people with a 2D flat screen. They can pen on the paper, they can do on the screen, but all this type of expression is 2D. But now VR really gave them a way to show them in 3D and direct mapping from what you think in your brain, that 3D, to a 3D space. So I think that will change the way people design.
Okay, and we're seeing lots of that in New York City. Of course, real estate is big there, and some of the startups are focused on VR and real estate in particular.
Yeah.
So helping people to see an architectural rendering or to view real estate. So that's just one example, and I think that does this kind of lead us into really my next question, which is around the ecosystem that you see emerging for VR and AR. Of course gaming, of course entertainment and media, but what are some of the other key application areas where you see VR and AR taking off right now, or where you think it will over the next couple of years? And I'll open that up to the panel, so the first person that would like to take that one on.
So maybe I start first. I think from our experience to working with developers, I can list like the medical. Medical will be one of the great areas to leverage the virtual reality. There's two areas. One is in the surgery part. We have a partner in US. They can assemble the patient's CT or MRI together with their brain so that the doctor can know the best route if they have some, cancer there. And also, I think in the school part, usually it's very difficult to understand where's your muscle. It's totally 3D for the human body, right? So you need a true 3D environment to help the people to understand. I think medical is one big opportunity for VR. And also, I think the general, like the military, like the education, like the real estate, the design, showroom, this type. But for HTC side, we think the retail probably the next big opportunity.
Retail?
Retail, yes.
Okay. And what types of opportunities in retail specifically?
I think people will, right now we do exploration and discovery with many different companies in US, in China, and even in media, in EMEA. I think the way people will do virtual shopping in the future, maybe you can go somewhere in the virtual store and you see some product there, and you can just look around. You can see the 1.1 scale, and then you can go shopping directly from there.
LZ, does AMD have some bets in terms of vertical industry areas where VR and AR?
Yeah, I mean, so let's get back to our roots right here in Taiwan. Let's get back to hardware. We spoke so much about software. If I look at my friends here, you got the very high end, the HTC Vive providing the best and the most powerful VR experience. Then you got Samsung Gear VR providing the mobility, right, where you can just put it on and walk around and go anywhere. So I see a convergence of that, right, somewhere in the middle, where you can have the powerful and the full experience, but at the same time you enjoy the mobility and the freedom to walk around, easy to carry. Look, we're going to spend a lot of money on these VR equipments, right? Do you want to experience it just in your own home, or you want to be able to carry it to your friend's house and share it with your friends? Maybe I want to share it with my friends because I like to share, right? But so I think from a hardware perspective, there could be a lot of opportunities and innovation that goes into that to enable that. For me, for our product, we can make the product much more energy efficient. So it runs on much lower power. So you could run on battery, so you could become more mobile. For the battery vendor, they can make their battery much smaller in size and much more efficient to provide that mobility into the powerful VR machines, right? Audio, it's another one. Now we are seeing this immersive world and getting into the experience. What about hearing? You want to hear good quality surround sound, 360 degree as well. So that when you're sitting here looking at it, you know there's an image behind you, but you're hearing the noise behind you. There's gunshots in the back, right? There's cars in the back. There's somebody calling your names in the back. Audio technology is another great component of it. So all of that, basically, any component that goes in there to further fulfill that experience, that full immersive mobility experience, is going to be great technology and great for the hardware ecosystem. Battery, casing, right? Putting on this headset, it could get heavy, right? If you're your children, You know, you might get a little bit lopsided, right, because it's getting heavy. Make that material become lighter. Mobility, right? Instead of having a wire from your headset, get rid of the wire, become wireless. All that is technology around it. That's why everybody has such a great hopes and so excited about VR, because it just does not enable the content, does not just enable the PC, does not enable the headsets, but enables every single component to fulfill that experience. Because that experience is what everybody wants. That reality experience, we all want it. And so that's why everybody's jumping into it.
And we have seen a lot of the producers that we work with focus in on sound design as a really important element of virtual reality because of the importance of it to the user experience and the user interface. You know how you make decisions in a VR environment. Often the sound is what gives you that cue of what to do next. But Celia, from your perspective, are there certain vertical areas that Gear is targeting?
Yeah, I think in addition to the entertainment and the gaming industry, we do see some verticals with a lot of opportunities. I think one is the travel industry.
Travel.
Yes,
Okay.
and we work with Marriott to provide a in-room virtual reality experience. And actually, a lot of people when, they want to go somewhere, but they want to have a better idea. So even locally in Taiwan, a lot of travel agencies, they are trying to create the 360 travel content so that before you actually sign up for a tour, you can get a better understanding what it is about. So I think the travel industry will be big. And the other is generally like the learning. So as Raymond mentioned, there has been some training simulator for surgeon. There's also some training simulator for pilot. So I think in a certain industry, if training actually is very important, I think maybe for the spaceman or something. So I think in the future, the VR application will be very important. And for certain like psychology therapy, we actually have some projects called Fearless. So actually we partner with some institution to work on people who are afraid of the heights or people they are afraid of the public speaking. But by wearing the Gear VR, actually allow you to train yourself to be able to, control yourself, in that environment to make yourself to try that, so that you can get away with this kind of problems. So I think there will be very extensive application in terms of the learning.
Mm-hmm. So one of the things that I'm very interested in is kind of to your point, LZ, about mobility. One of the things that sort of holds VR back right now, or seems to hold VR back, is the fact that a lot of the time when you're experiencing VR, you're putting on the headset or you're putting on the cardboard or whatever the device is, and you're having that experience by yourself. It's almost like a weird party. You often go to things like this and it's a group of people sort of standing and we're watching someone with a headset on in another experience, another world, another place, and we wait for them to be done, and then we go and try it as well. And so I've had that experience many times where it's that one person goes off and does the thing and then they come back, and it's sort of strange. But counter to that, I've seen in the labs at NYU, for instance, specifically built on Gear VR in this instance, some multi-user VR experiences where people are in an environment with one another, in a real environment, interacting with one another as avatars or with implements or tools. And that, to me, when I tried that was the big moment for me where I thought, wow, VR is real. It's going to be huge when we get the opportunity to engage with one another. What's holding us back from those types of multi-user social VR experiences today? I don't know, LZ, is there anything technical that's sort of holding us back from that, or that will emerge over the next year?
I'm not the expert in this area, but maybe I could just share what I think that's holding us back, and maybe the others jump in here. One of it, I think, is still technology, right? Because the thing with VR is that everything's happening live. So your computing power or your computer or the processing power have to anticipate right away what the next image is going to see and what that is going to be. That's artificial intelligence in certain ways, right? The intuitive technology. So because if I turn my head, the computer doesn't know I'm turning my head. but he's got to be in the very quickly, in a very fast nanosecond speed to render that image for me so I can see it. If I turn my head like this, I don't see that image, or I see a little twitch, I'm going to get dizzy. That's where the vertigo comes in, right? You're going to get dizzy, and you're going to get sick, and you're not going to go buy a VR experience. So when you have multiple people doing different things that you cannot anticipate, but you have to calculate and render that in a lighting fashion, that requires a lot of horsepower, right? So that's something that we do at AMD. We want to continue to be the leading innovator and the technology provider that will enable that. Are we there yet today? Probably not. Will we get there? Yes. Because the semiconductor technology is still developing, right? I mean, if we're going to look at the processing technology, everybody knows the Moore's law. Right now we're at 10 nanometers, 14 nanometers. Eventually it's going to become 7 nanometers. That's going to push the limits even more to make the processing power even much more powerful, right? So I think we will eventually get there, and that's what we want. Social networking is already becoming a very big part of our daily lives. Imagine bringing social networking into a VR, virtual, immersed environment. That's powerful, right? So you could put it on, go to your Facebook friends, and say, hey, hello, you want to go shopping together? Or you want to go play together, right? I think that's maybe one of the main reasons Facebook bought Oculus, because they see this as a trend, bringing the immersive experience into social networking. But I think that it takes great software, great developer, and the great technology to power that, and it's going to take a little bit of time. Exactly how long, I really don't know.
And Raymond, I haven't seen an HTC experience yet outside of a lab, a university lab, that's been multi-user, but are you all experimenting with that as well?
Yeah. I think so how should I start? So if you look back for the gaming history, right? At the beginning, it's only single player game.
Sure.
Because single player game. But when there's a second generation, third generation, you see online game.
The massive online.
You see like two people can play together, and then 4 people, and then even to like thousands of people they can play together. Yeah. For the social, most people when they think about social, they're thinking about like Facebook, like WhatsApp type of social communication. You do MSN, you do like text, you do talk with your friends. But in the gamers, actually, when you play online game, that's another type of social happening. So they play with their teammates, they talk with their teammates. Hey, you on the right side, I'm the left side. So I think at the beginning we see the VR game content.
Right.
They start from single player. So most of the content you experience is single player. But when we launch, we see a couple very creative, good multi-user game starting to launch already. Hover Junker, Raw Data. You have multiplayer mode. You can play with your teammates, and you need to play together. Mm-hmm. And in the other side, we see there are some social VR companies like the VR Chat, Outspace, High Fidelity, and even the Second Life. They try to attack the social with different areas. Mm-hmm. They're starting from the pure, like you have a chatting room, everybody go there with avatar, you do voice chatting, you do text or whatever. Right. And then they need to design what people want to do in that area. So from my point of view, I think gaming will start first, and social is part of the gaming industry already. Mm-hmm. So I'll see the social evolving from the gamers, like single player game, multiplayer game. And with this type of experiment and with the business model, actually, you can image how those pure social content can leverage the experience in the gaming social area and then create their spatial experience. So cool. I would be very optimistic with the social in the VR, because even like LD said, I think the most critical bottleneck for us to see the social is the latency for the internet.
Yeah. So it's still a technical challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But in the other viewpoint of view, you don't really need to see, for example, physically your friend turns her head, but you don't really need to see her head showing that immediately, even after a second, because I don't really know what happens in your physical body. So that's acceptable for, it depends how you design, what's the interactive behavior.
Right.
I think we'll leave to all the creative developers. For the last 6 months, 10 months, we discovered many of the challenges in the VR because the VR totally changed the way content design. Developers need to throw the keyboard and mouse away, throw their finger away. They need to pick up their body movement back. But very soon, in just a couple months, we see so many creative ideas to interactive in VR. So I'm very optimistic in the social part.
Well, let's spend a minute on that idea of creative ideas and what the startup community is doing, what you're excited about. Maybe, and I'll put a difficult question to you. You can answer it if you like, or try to give an idea around this question in a different way. But if you didn't have these great jobs at these fantastic, enormous technology companies, and you were starting out as a startup entrepreneur, like maybe some of the members of the audience might be, in the VR and AR space, what would you want to do? What would be the problem that you'd go after at the moment that you think would create the biggest scalable opportunity? Is there one that occurs to you? LZ, is there one that occurs to you that you'd wander off from AMD and start?
Okay, all right, so don't let my boss know this. No, I'm kidding. Well, I see it right now, all the VR content that we are experiencing today is nothing but demos. Demos, demos, demos. You could walk around here and you could go to Nangang, right? You could put on the goggle and experience it, and they're all demos. So if I want to go, tackle one problem, I want to make something real. Make it something that it's not a demo anymore, right? Where it's something that's, you could put on and really say, oh, wow, I want to do this over and over again and have that experience over and over again. So it's just not a one-time demo. A complete storytelling. It could be either a game or a experience or
So maybe I should ask the question: what's holding us back from that? Why aren't people able?
I think that for me, if I'm going to start a company, the biggest challenge right now, there's only very few people in the world knows how to use the VR creativity tools, right?
So
the tooling vendor.
Workflow.
Yeah, exactly. So if you look at the chains of the ecosystem, right? You need graphics designers, you probably need some creative directors, and then you need the people who are knows how to use the tools by Unity or Unreal, right, or Autodesk. And there's only very few people in the world that knows how to use that tool. And this is also where the West, like Raymond said, that's why they want to go have an office in San Francisco, because the people that use those tools are what? In Hollywood. They're based in LA. Right. The people that use those tools are where? In Bay Area. So, and this is one of the reasons that AMD is, like I said, our third charter, our second charter, is that we want to basically provide tools that makes that development easier. And so we are partnering with the universities, because at the end of the day, that's the biggest training ground, right? That's where you train the next generation leaders and technology developers. So we are getting actually involved in the university to make sure that the students know how to use these tools and how to develop. So that if I want to start a company in the VR, whatever content, and the biggest challenge is finding those people who are willing to accept a startup pay, right? and then go create that content for me. Because at the end of the day, they could be either making millions of dollars or hundreds of thousands of dollars at a studio where they're working right now, or if they have such a great idea, they'll go start their own company. Why would they want to partner with me? Right? So that's what I would say the biggest challenge.
So that's hopefully there's one entrepreneur in the room who will take that. Workflows for VR content production. Celia, if you had to wander off from Samsung and tackle one big problem in VR, what would it be?
Actually, I'm just having some thoughts, because you just mentioned the multi-user experiences, and he just mentioned about the creative use of the VR internally. Actually, when we saw something that's very touching, usually that would be when VR connects people. So I think there has been a case in Australia. It's about the husband. Actually, he is not able to participate his wife's delivery. So actually, he used the VR. Actually, they can have the conversation. He knows everything. He's like he was there to be with his wife to have his second baby. So I think that was really touching. And From what I know, that if the 360 camera actually has a live streaming function, actually it allows you to do a certain degree of these kind of interaction. And then we've seen that a lot of live streaming kind of things online has been very popular, even though you're just watching that person eating lunch or breakfast, but everybody just enjoyed that, and you will probably chat with that person. There is a certain interactions over there. And we also have some of the experiment right now. Samsung has a bedtime story VR. It's about if a mom is on a business trip, she's not able to read a bedtime story to her child. Actually, they can both wear the VR. Actually, the mom can read the bedtime story, and the kid actually can see and experience the bedtime story. I think this kind of VR application actually is very wonderful, because actually it kind of breaks down the barrier of distance and the timing, so it makes people connecting together. So actually I'm not a technical person, so I don't know what holds back to people to have more this kind of production, but I do see this kind of application is intriguing and make people really want to use that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And Raymond, what would you do if I handed you an angel investment today?
Yeah, maybe I can answer some. I don't challenge you, but actually there's lots of tools it's developing right now to help the VR content creation. I worked with Google for the first Android phone, so I kind of know a little bit about how the ecosystem built. I remember back to 2008 when the first Android phone showing up. The first maybe 100, 200 apps, the quality is not that high,
right.
And lots of the content is actually created by Google internally or some college students. But when time goes by, you see there's so many like great apps right now, like the Android games is so good, like you cannot image back to 2008. So I think I'm seeing the same path for the new technology. When the VR comes out, developers start to work on the contents. And the good thing is we have so many great content, quality content already. But it still needs time to penetrate to the developer community. And also all the tools LZ mentioned, even they're under developing, some of them have beta already, but it needs time to finish. And when there are more and more tools, suites, and developer can be easier to create to make their idea come true. So I think I'm quite optimistic on the content creation. Maybe the second half or the next year, it will be the exponential curve, and the quality will be even much higher very soon. So that will be the challenge for the GPU side very soon. For me, actually, I want to be maybe angel fund, because I see so many interesting ideas. I see so many developers.
Yeah.
It's very difficult for me to say, I want to do this, I want to do this. I want to do all of them, but I cannot. Right. So the best thing is to support them, to help them, to bring them to the market, and to bring up the ecosystem. I think that would be even more meaningful and interesting for us.
So I think for the entrepreneurs in the room, you're hearing from these three companies at least that they're very keen to support you and support your startup ideas. So maybe you'll grab these folks as they come off the stage today and make your elevator pitch. We've only got a few more minutes left, and I wanted to make sure that we gave the panel an opportunity to talk a little bit about what they see with regard to their business model around VR, and whether they expect that model to emerge in the next year or so. They begin to expect to make real money back from the investments that they're making in virtual and augmented reality. So I want to put that to the panel, but I also want to encourage the panelists to each make one prediction. So one prediction about something that you think will happen in the next year to 3 years in VR and AR that will change the landscape or make these markets open up in a big way or drive large-scale consumer adoption. So one prediction that you think that everyone here in the audience should be looking towards, and when they see that thing happen or not, it will be an indicator for them. LZ, you look like you might have an idea in your head about that prediction. So
I think we're all going to make up money, lots and lots of money.
Okay.
I mean, like I said, VR is very exciting for us because we see that this is an opportunity where people and even going to refresh their computing systems. Business is going to procure more high-end system, either to develop the VR machine that's going to help them create. In addition to the B2C market that we have in VR, there's a huge B2B market, right? We mentioned real estate, travel. So those businesses will start procuring new computing devices to deliver that experience. All that means money for everybody here in Taiwan, including companies like HTC, Samsung Gear VR, Acer, Asus, Gigabyte, MSI. Everybody will enjoy part of the ride. So I think we're all going to make money from it. So my prediction in the next 3 years is that, VR is going to bring exciting, profitable growth to the existing companies that are in that today. In addition, you're going to see a lot more players jumping into it. People that you never thought of they would get into VR or AR, or starting either to having start a side organization, a subsidiary, or a department, getting into this segment of the business, because I think VR is here to stay. It's not a 3D television. It's not it's not going to be one of those trough of disillusion. I think it's definitely here to stay, and it's going to grow very rapidly, and you're going to see a lot of excitement around it.
Okay, so a lot of companies jumping into VR and AR that currently are not and that you wouldn't anticipate. So people from different parts of industry. That's your prediction. Celia, what about you?
Okay, actually we see the VR actually is part of the smartphone ecosystem. So that's why we think it has to be a wide distribution, so that there's a value for your smartphone that you can use to access to different kind of VR entertainment or VR immersive experiences. So ultimately, I think the content is where people can make money. And I think right now we are still waiting for consumer to feel that there's a really good VR experience, so they are willing to pay for that. But imagine of that if the concert and the sports game, right now there are limited seats, but in the future if the VR is actually very mature, you can wear just your Gear VR to watch the game, whatever seat you want to be at. And then actually there's a potential for you to pay for additional seats that's from VR. So I think there is a lot of potential in terms of the business model. But in the near future, because I've seen even in Taiwan, the local media newspaper, because it's a very competitive environment. So some of the leading newspaper or media, they have started to use a 360 camera to produce the news. So I think maybe next year it will be the norm for all the media company. They are trying to make, you will be, having the VR journalism or so-called the VR news, and I think that would be a total different experience and kind of differentiate certain players from others. So I think maybe next year this is something we can look forward to, because sometimes when we see some international news, I've never been there, I don't know, but if I can have that immersive experience, I think that would be totally different.
So in the next year, 360 video will become a common method for people to consume news. Yes. That's your prediction?
Yes.
Excellent. Raymond, what about you? What's your prediction for 2017?
I think this year, I think we're also happy we have not only Vive, but we also have Oculus, Sony, Gear, all these different type of VR devices. So VR becomes a very hot topic to the media, to the consumers, to the public. It's really helped to the whole VR market grow. I think that's very helpful. So for how to make the consumer know more about VR, I think this year we got lots of attraction for the media and consumer first, but in our vision, it's basically like two ways. One is by mouth. Some people, they experience the VR, they feel the good experience, they're going to talk with their friends, hey, I got a cool stuff, try this one. I think that's one way to spread the VR, because there's difficulty for the media to show the VR experience on the flat screen. If I show what I see in my HMD, like the people watching the TV doesn't feel exciting about it. You have to bring your friends to HMD, and then you see, wow, this is cool, I'm going to get one. So I think that's one way, is word by mouth. And also more and more experiment stores, experiment locations to help people to really understand what VR is. Of course, we need to bring the best VR experience to the consumers. Otherwise, if your experience is not good enough, actually you just make the people away from the VR. And I think the another direction will be from the enterprise part. There's so many different enterprises that are working on the VR. The one you mentioned, the travel, the education, the real estate. So when lots of people they go shopping, they walk on the street, they see this store with VR experience, that store with VR experience. I go to I want to buy a house, so I go to the agency. There's a VR. I can look at the house, and then I go to school. There's a VR lab. When more and more enterprises start to adopt VR into their enterprise, people will get used to it, and then eventually they will get one back home. So that's I think that's how we see VR can penetrate to the general consumers.
So if I had to force you to make a single prediction for next year, you'd say more enterprise applications? Is that what where I'd land you?
Can you say that again?
If I had to pin you down on one prediction for next year, you would suggest more enterprise applications for virtual reality will emerge, or?
I would predict it's really difficult. I think it's a multi-path to go. I still think we'll see very good multiplayer gaming content next year.
Okay.
And also we'll see lots of the enterprise adopting VR in their front door or something.
So I know that in New York there are a lot of the VR startups, AR startups are enterprise focused, and some of the best funded, and the ones that seem to have the most significant sort of concept about how to make money are the enterprise focused VR and AR companies. So I think that's definitely an area for everyone to look at here. Well, we have spent an hour and a half on VR and AR technology. I think that there are some excellent demos that are just over here that you'll have the opportunity to try. Do you want to say quickly, Celia, what has Samsung brought over here? What do you have over here for people to see?
Actually, there is a 4D chair, so you can experience 3 types of scenarios, either dinosaur, roller coaster, or motorbike. So actually, it will rotate you. So actually, that will be very exciting. You should try it.
Okay, so dinosaur, motorcycle, or
roller coaster.
A roller coaster. Okay, so don't try the roller coaster before lunch. Or, and HTC also.
Yeah, we have a booth just next here. We have 4 demo booths here. We bring some really interesting contents from Europe. One is called Birdly. Actually, you bring the HMD with their simulator, with the fans. You can fly in New York. You can look at the Central Park, and you can really become a bird flying in New York. And there's no gunshot. Don't worry about it. And we have another stuff like the HoloDial. It's a gym. It's a sport. Can help you to when you bring on the HMD and then you start to do exercise. You don't feel boring because you can see different scenes. You just like you exercise on the ground. And also HTC, we have our internal team. There's a couple developers when first time they see VR. They try to tell our CEO, I want to make out my own. So HTC start to support them, say, okay, you can dedicate to work on the content, kind of an internal startup, because they're so enthusiastic in VR, in gaming. So we let them to work on their own content for 6 months, so they bring their stuff to show in Taipei. I think that's really also a creative idea from HTC. We want to encourage the the internal employees, when they have good ideas, creative ideas, we want to encourage them because they are sort of developers as well. That's our cool demo this year, and of course we have many different other contents. And this year we have maybe more than 12, 13 partners across the whole COMPUTEX showing Vive with different contents like MSI, Gigabyte, and many partners, HP and Intel. I think that's really we really want everybody, if you have time, try to enjoy Vive, try to enjoy VR.
Great. Okay, well, I hope that you all will try those demos, and I hope that this has been useful to you as an introduction to AR and VR, and has exposed some opportunities for you in future. I want to thank our panelists, Raymond, LZ, Celia. Thank you so much for sharing your ideas with us today. I hope to see you in New York. Hope to see all of you in New York sometime soon. Come and visit us there. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please give a round of applause to our moderator, Justin, and our three executives. Thank you very much.